So recently I went to watch the WTT Women Finals in Nagoya. This video is going to be about that experience and how different it is to watching those matches on YouTube. And since I also got access to the training hall, it'll also contain some observations about that and the 4 matches that I saw. Namely, Bernadette versus Chen Xingtong, Chen Meng versus Hina Hayata, Sun Yingsha versus Miwa Harimoto, and Adriana Diaz versus Mima Ito. Alright, let's get into it. First, we enter the practice hall. One thing that really stood out to me was how accurate they are. Be it how precise their serves are, or even something simple as, let's say, the 3-point drill. Usually amongst amateurs you might find that neither the blocker nor the attacker is really that accurate. So, over time little variations build up before both eventually just lose control of the point. But for example, in this 3-point drill, you can see that the blocks are all coming back to one place and the attacks are also going back to this one place. Another thing that I noticed was that how all of them had some warm-up routine, and a warm-up routine that lasted like a good 20 to 25 minutes. And in a video it's actually kind of difficult to see, but when you see them in front of you, you also actually see how physically fit they are. Like it's difficult to appreciate that in a video. Another thing I observed was that they'll pick this one thing that they want to work on and they'll practice it so many times without getting bored. Out of the forehand topspins that I saw, I personally found Jeon Ji-hee's forehand topspin to be really good. It had a lot of spin and it was also very fluidic. Chen Xingtong and Hina Hayata had pretty standard forehands. Bernadette's forehand was a little weird in the sense that it didn't have as much topspin, but it still had a lot of weight to the ball. Another thing that came out different to me in the matches as well as practice is the speed. The speed at which their body moves, at which the ball moves. I don't know why, but in the videos, it just feels a little bit slower than it actually is. Oh, and here we have Marlin. In the training hall, I also came across a couple of fans who themselves have never really played table tennis that much, but had come there just to see their idols. But then I guess if other sports can have spectators and fans who have never really played the game themselves, then why not table tennis? Okay, next let's go on to the very first match. Bernadette versus Chen Xingtong. The opening and the way the players come onto the table is really very grand.
Finals Women 2023, round of 16. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Romania, Bernadette Song. And her opponent from China, Shin Tong.
Okay, so the match starts, and the first thing that stands out to me is how Bernadette was taking risks, but Chen Xingtong was playing a safe game. In fact, the only time you see Chen Xingtong taking the initiative and going for the shots is towards the very end, and it's pretty much guaranteed that she would win. Like I said during the practice as well, Bernadette's forehand topspins were kind of weird to watch during the match. As in, they were not that spinny, but whenever she would get a really good forehand attack in, Chen Xingtong somehow wouldn't even be able to touch the ball. Like, the trajectory of the ball itself would be weird compared to what she had usually practiced with. There were many backhand-to-backhand rallies, and since Bernadette would have been the first one to take the initiative, it would feel like she's controlling the rally, but Chen Xingtong would be moving so fast, and she would just do enough to keep the ball back on the table. And at points it would feel like Bernadette was just stubborn and wanting to overpower her using her backhand, when I feel if she just pivoted and maybe used her forehand on some of the occasions, she would have been able to finish the point much sooner. The match went to the decider where Chen Xingtong eventually won, and I feel that's partly because she edged out Bernadette in terms of consistency. But overall, I feel that if Bernadette could have gotten some of her shots in, then she definitely had a chance. Okay, let's go to the next match, which was Chen Meng versus Hina Hayata. This was also a match that went to the decider, and personally I was kind of rooting for Hina Hayata, so it was kind of sad to see the way it ended. In this match, I found that whenever Hina got the chance to really attack with her forehand, then Chen Meng would have a really hard time to survive in that point. But apart from that, Chen Meng would just hang in the point until Hina would offer a loose ball and then finish it. For example, in the backhand-to-backhand rallies, across the first 3 matches that I saw, even though they seem counterish, all of them have a little bit of topspin in it. And that topspin really adds to the pressure you put on the other player. And all the players would put this extra topspin on the ball when they're playing with their backhand, except for Hina Hayata. I felt that her backhand, although really good and fast, it somehow just fails to put pressure on Chen Meng. So whenever Chen Meng is finding herself, in a tight spot, she just send the ball to Hina Hayata's backhand and get herself a little bit of breathing space.
Love 3.
Oh, and all these backhand-to-backhand rallies, they all had the same rhythm across all 3 matches. Like, if I were to close my eyes and listen, it would be the same rhythm. So during the matches, if any ball broke this rhythm, then the other player would find it difficult to return this ball. Let's say there was suddenly a slower and slightly higher ball, then it would catch them by surprise. Or if one of the players put side spin on the ball, it would also catch the other by surprise.
To start off game 2.
A point that I noticed about this match is when Chen Mang is receiving Hina Hayata's service, she will take this ready stance, and you can clearly see that there's this 1 to 2 second gap during which her muscles kind of like tighten or like get ready to receive. And at that instant, it kind of reminded me of. Next, we have the matchup between Miwa and Sun. And I feel this was the most impressive match of the day for me, with both of the shots just having a lot of power. I think Miwa was doing really well at certain points, but then I also feel that she would somehow just lose her focus or lose her concentration and then lose the next few points in a row. Sun just did very well to keep herself mentally strong throughout the entire match, and towards the end, Miwa, maybe because of the lack of her experience, she just crumbled and Sun was able to win. In one of the points, Mima opens the ball against push, and there is a lot of spin on it. Like if you or I were to just attempt to block it, it might just fly out the end of the table. But then Sun Yingsha counters this ball.
Much spin is on it. For 5 coming into this towel break. There's the loaded one, which means Miwa's going to arc it up in a hurricane forehand punch.
And when I watched it live, she just swung her hand so fast. Like it had me thinking that I've probably never even attempted to swing my hand so fast. Hey, if that's the kind of effort that you have to be putting in every ball in order to get the best out of the Chinese rubbers, then you know what, maybe I'm better off not using them. In fact, in one of the other points, Miwa attempts to swing her hand that fast, but she fails to contact the ball.
Oh, the missed time!
At this point, having watched 3 matches, I'd just like to make an observation. It's not a criticism about the players, but just an observation. At some points, I felt as if the local matches where I go to play a tournament are more fun to watch, in the sense that neither player is perfect, and the spectators know that. And it is really fun to see how they try to outthink their opponent, or they come up with these various strategies or shots that you wouldn't normally see. Whereas in these matches in Nagoya, since each and every point is really crucial and there's a lot on the line, there isn't really a lot of room to play around or try new things while a match is going on. In some points it feels like, are we going to soon reach a stage where table tennis is solved, where both players are extremely fit, have really good techniques, so they kind of follow the same strategy until one of them outlasts the other and wins the point. So yeah, just the atmosphere of random variations, creativity, and just, I don't know, trying to outthink your opponent felt a little absent to me. And finally, we get to the last match of the day between Adriana Diaz and Mima Ito. Although Diaz has been playing well recently, I feel like she was just not used to the rhythm of Mima Ito. Diaz would just unfortunately play it into her hands, and then Ito would just make her run around and then finish the point.
What feels like about 6 years or more. 4-0 for Mima Ito. Go.
Yeah, and that was it. I would just say that watching these matches live versus watching them on YouTube, there really is a lot of difference. You really get to see the arc of the ball and also kind of feel the spin on the ball and also feel as if you are really there and how fast they have to be moving, and realize how difficult it would be for a normal human being to just do that. And usually we marvel at how fast they hit the balls or some of the excellent shots or the rallies. But during the practice session, I also got to see how consistent they are at that level. I mean, I guess you also really need that kind of physical fitness to be consistent at that high of a level. So yeah, a video from the side, I don't think does justice to the amount of effort that these athletes put in. So if you get a chance to watch any of the top players near your house, I would definitely say go for it. Anywho, see you in the next video, and a Happy New Year.